welcome to a quick pint and a catch-up. This week's guest is Tom Baker. So I first met Tom when I was working for Meantime Brewery, and I interviewed him for a tour guide position. And I've seen him go from strength to strength in his career in beer, mainly focusing on sales. So we'll be talking a little bit about sales today and what that's all about. We'll also be talking to Lianne. Say a quick hello to Lianne. Hello, Lianne. Hiya. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me again. Joining you for a brief cameo, just to talk about my beer of the week, which I'm currently drinking, which is the Aerial Getaway by Alphabet. And I'll also just mention a couple of other beers that I've had this week, and which I'm not drinking today on screen because they're empty. But
you've enjoyed them that much.
Yeah, I'll just briefly give a few honourable mentions as well.
We'll see you a little bit later on.
See you in a bit.
Okay, hey Tom, back again.
Hey.
So, what are you drinking at the moment?
I am drinking a very nice, elusive Level Up Red Ale, which is why I've gone a little bit red, because it's got rye in it. And when I drink red beers with rye, famously go a little bit potty, but it's absolutely delicious. I'm going to have to buy another crate of it because I've drank it all this week.
Classic. I love American red ales. I don't get to drink enough of them. They are really, really good. I have to check that out then if that's recommended.
Not enough making them. Not enough people are making them.
No, there's not enough people making them. It's always been my favourite style. And this is the Table Sour, of course, from Temperance Street Brewery. So this was brewed by Ali at Temperance Street, and this is a 3% table sour beer. Very, very lightly sour. So it's soured using lactobacillus, which is the same thing that sours yogurt and sourdough bread. So you're getting a little tang from it, so it's quite refreshing. And also dry hot with a ton of citra hops as well, which gives you a lovely sort of grapefruity, lemon zest sort of aroma and flavour on that. So it's really, really refreshing, really tasty. And yeah, only 3%, so I should stay fairly sensible. But you've got a few strong beers coming through, haven't you, Tom? So we'll see how things progress. So as I said, you've been working in brewery sales for around 4 years now. Can you just sum up what that job entails for people who don't know?
Yeah, well, I've kind of always joked about it that I travel around, drink beer and talk to people, which is two of the few things that I'm good at. But it's more about facilitating either the logistics of getting the beer where it's meant to, supporting wholesalers, supporting accounts, and really just raising awareness of the brand.
Saying that, what made you want a career in beer in the first place? What was your path?
Well, it was, going back to home brewing. My dad, I can remember him making those malt extract beers. God, those were terrible. We found some still in the garage, and we thought these will be drinkable. They were not to drink.
No, they don't last forever.
Yes, because we're essentially vodka. We brewed a couple of times, and then it was after that my background is of course not in beer; it's in chemistry that I did at degree level, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later because it is a running road. I've got to give a shout out to Rook and Gaskell in York, who were some of the first guys that I worked for and really gave us an appreciation of good quality beer. That's what I say there. And then I thought, you know what, I can talk for a living. Let's go and become a brewer.
So is that why you went for the chemistry degree? Was that in the back of your mind thinking, I can use that in my brewing career later, or you just happened to be good at chemistry and went for it?
It was always just my favourite subject at school growing up, kind of that. I specialise in biological chemistry, biological medicinal chemistry, which is exactly what you need when you work in sales. But yeah, it was just what I was good at and what I always filled. What I was going to do at the end of this is, go and do my PhD and live a happy life of academia. And of course, life gets in the way. And so I've ended up here chatting to you. We
first met when you interviewed to become a tour guide at Meantime Brewing Company. So what skills did you learn in that job that you think have stood you in good ground for the rest of your career?
Yes, what a long and winding road that was. Working alongside these guys, it was not only the knowledge of the beer, because we were working so directly with the brewers that they were just on the other side of a glass wall. You saw every single stage. You learned all the little tricks. The entire education, we had a gentleman who I'm sure both of us are quite indebted to, called Rod Jones.
Absolutely. Shout out to Rod if he's there.
Yes, if he's sat there listening at the other side to this, he has forgotten more about beer than I could ever hope to know.
Absolutely.
And putting us through our beer Sommeliers, which I still maintain is one of the hardest 45 minutes of my entire life. Panel, where at the end of it you are quite drunk, and he finishes with the Imperial Stouts, which was a great surprise. But I think the thing that I've taken on most, I was just saying, is my ability to control drunk stag do's. Yes, I can remember me and Mark having a good few incidents with trying to control some interesting clientele.
It's definitely a skill that you have to learn. But on the flip side of that, so not only did we do the public tours, obviously, at Meantime, but also there was a lot of the educational side of it, getting people like bar staff down and learning how to clean lines, learning how to look after their beer, and learning how to talk to customers about beer as well, which I thought was that was always the side of the job that I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, talking to guys just in bars and giving them some sort of education enthusiasm, trying to translate this great thing that people have spent their entire lives, their entire careers trying to perfect, to these people who are trying to sell it is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I always found that quite interesting, that people don't quite get the fact that there's a whole world behind their pint of beer. They just think beer, isn't this fun? But actually there's a whole load of people who've had to dedicate their lives, a lot of skill, a lot of passion, not only the brewers themselves, but also people like who make the malt, that goes in the beer, the people who grow the hops and that sort of thing. There's a whole world behind your glass, as it were. So it's lovely to open that up to people. So eventually you ended up working in the sales department for Meantime Brewery. So what was your day-to-day looking like when you were working in that department?
My day-to-day, well, I was in charge. I was in the Northeast sales, territory sales manager for Meantime, which meant that anything from Northampton to John O'Groats was my territory. So that's great working for a London-based brewery, who the North meant.
That's mad.
There was a couple of trips down to Northampton, which was not fun. But that was just trying to work alongside anything from smaller retail groups of like 5 or 6 pubs down to individual ones, all the way up to working with some of the biggest pub chains in the UK, like Stonegate, Green King, Enterprise a little bit, and Mitchell and Butler as well.
Whilst you're working for Meantime, we saw the merger between the Asahi sales team and the Meantime sales team as well. So that included sales teams from Peroni and Grolsch as well. So what was the difference? Did your day-to-day change once that happened?
Not initially, because of course they merged well before, but when it eventually came to the merger, which I think was April 2017, 18, I can't quite remember, then yes, it changed. I was transferred into the Peroni division for Asahi UK, and I was put in charge of the Northeast.
Okay.
Again, but that was the actual new. I do keep joking to people that who would buy Peroni off a man dressed like this.
Normally you do go around as in the picture earlier with your flat cap, full Yorkshire uniform, as it were.
I own a full selection of flat caps and my mustache at the moment, which
fantastic.
Is looking fabulous.
I think it looks good, yeah. It looks better than the hipster beard, I have to say.
Yeah, that was quite impressive yesterday.
Yeah, so what was the difference in attitude, I guess, towards the sales coming from the Peroni team, from the Meantime team, in difference to the sort of attitude to sales that you had from the Meantime team?
Oh, the Meantime team, it was very much about hitting those high volume accounts, trying to get as much beer through as possible. Trying to work alongside guys and just essentially trying to keep Camden out is the best way to do it.
Hi, Camden. If you're there. Hi, guys.
With Meantime, it was very much we knew what was going into the beer. Every single person in that team, even the guys who didn't have a beer background, we had guys who are ex-secondhand car salesmen, which is always the cliche. What went into the beer and went from first principles. They at least came and did training with me and you when we were both running the training, all the way up to guys who were brewers or GMs, a good few of them. Whereas with Peroni, I think the beer was treated much more as a commodity, that it didn't really I don't say it didn't matter, because of course it did to them. But going from, they could be selling windows, they could have been doing anything. They're all great guys, but it wasn't about the product. It was about service.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's more about service, and I think more from what I could gather as well from my interactions with that team was it was more about sort of a overriding sort of image of what the beer was, the lifestyle that the beer gave you, I guess. If that makes sense, rather than the beer itself, rather than just the beer.
Yes, it was. You're selling the dream, which is the old thing, isn't it? The idea of selling the dream that went around it.
Oh, we've got a question in from Dan. Okay, Dan Math. Is there a large difference in sales between the South, North, and Midlands? And have you noticed a difference between city brands and suburban areas and town brands?
Yes. Yes. The North tends to stick to its own brands. It likes what it knows. Certain cities, of course, have a different propensity to go to different brands. So, for example, in Liverpool, you see a lot more Liverpool brands, Manchester, and there are certain ones that pop up time and time again. And some of that are kind of disconnected as well from the city. So, for example, you've got the guys over at Chapter. Big shout out to Noah if he's watching. I'm actually drinking one of his beers now, so there we go. Who you see a lot popping up in Liverpool, even though they're based down in Chester. You see the guys over at, the Twisted Wheel guys as well. They're popping up a lot over in Chester. There's sometimes a little bit of disconnect, but it tends to stay local and very much cask orientated. I think still cask is king in the north. Looking at our numbers at Beatniks, we're running still about 50-50 cask to keg ratio. When I left Brew York last year, it was about 75% keg, about 25% cask. Just because with cask, you've got to have the knowledge of how things are served, how they work, and some people shouldn't really be trusted with that. Whereas you can just smash it out. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, saying that, I have definitely had bad keg beer where the lines haven't been cleaned properly, etc. But
in the Midlands, you do see the local breweries. Birmingham, not many Birmingham breweries tend to get out of Birmingham because I think they've got such a huge base there. For example, I've never drank a Burning Soul beer, and I really want to, but I can't seem to find them anywhere outside of Birmingham because they must sell all their stuff there. Nottingham's a little bit of a weird one just because of the way the M1 works, so it's quite easy for those guys to get up to the north and, of course, down to the south. London is just an absolute minefield of things, isn't it? Loads of people doing lots of things. At last count, how many breweries in London are there? About 130?
Something like that. Did you ever do any sort of sales in London?
We did a little bit with Brew York, but that was mainly organising events and things. The wholesalers took care of that city. It's a complete unknown for me.
That must be a different kettle of fish. Well, hopefully we'll speak to someone who has dealt with sales in London at some point, because it'd be really interesting to hear how difficult or potentially easy, I guess it may be, for those guys to sell beer in London. Certainly a different sort of microclimate, I guess we could say, in that area. You did mention Brew York. But what year did you end up moving up to those guys then?
Yeah, 2018, about 2018.
So I remember, I think it was around when we were doing our beer sommelier training. I think it's that day, the day before the exam, we drank all that beer. We had to try all these different beers to try and get up. And that was a hard day.
Barley wines and very strong, terrifying beers.
It was harder than it sounds, people. But I remember you seeing Brew York in Asda then, and just being so excited, like, this is from my hometown, oh my god. Yes. And then finally you end up actually working for them, so I was so happy for you. But what was their sort of market position when you first joined them?
When I first joined, it was just cask, really. The most exciting beer they'd done was a 6.7% West Coast, or it was still, I don't want to say traditional, but modern traditional beers. But they had always got the ideas to go to the huge scale that they've got to now, with the massive variety of beers and the massive mad styles. But it was amazing that even I was there just under 2 years, but in that first 6 months, we went from almost 100% cask, 75% cask, to just absolutely rinsing keg and cans. It was a fantastic thing to reposition themselves in the marketplace. And now they're producing mad things like extra brownie points, which is a peanut butter, chocolate, coffee madness. Things like Shea Guevara Cava that I've got in my fridge right now, which is a guava champagne sour. And these are the guys that I remember drinking their first batch of Kiwi and thinking it was one of the best things, which is a New Zealand hot brown ale that they just brought back into 440ml cans, which is what I need, a brown ale in a 440ml can. I am going to order all of it.
Do you think it's indicative of like the evolving tastes of markets like York, where you started off with sort of cask beer, I guess, being really popular in quite a traditional city, and then you're seeing people getting a bit more adventurous in their tastes?
It certainly happened in the time that I was there. Probably, I lived there off and on almost about 8 years, and I can remember kind of seeing Cloudwater for the first time was on in my pub, and it was like, what?
Oh my god!
And I look back now, we had the first batch of Northern Monk in our pub.
Oh wow!
New World IPA, I think it was. And we just went, oh, this is half decent, isn't it? Or like Cloudwater bringing in, and it was like the first sour beer that I'd ever tried. It was their gooseberry sour. I can't remember quite what it was called, but having that and going, what's
this crazy flavors?
6 years ago. And I can remember having Heathen on cask for the first time and having to warn my regulars not to drink it because they'd fall over. We're all very used to having their 3.8 to 5% blondes of just being able to smash them.
Yeah. Heathen's a great beer. I had that recently again. It's fantastic. But yeah, it hides its ABV quite nicely, so you do have to be careful. Were you able to sort of influence the way the brewery sold their beers while you were there, or what was your sort of role in evolving that, do you think?
When I was there, I was judge, jury, executioner. I was for over a year, 18 months, I was the only guy doing the sales, so it was how I wanted to focus on it. Wayne, the boss, if he's watching, hello. He was very much of doing the big picture stuff, the lots of huge contracts and things. But on the day-to-day, I'm dealing with different pubs and different outlets. It was me, and it was quite fun. And
it's the niche you've carved for yourself, I think, as well as, you're very amenable, very knowledgeable, so you're able to go around to pubs and sell beer quite well. That's the thing.
It was a great time while we were there. We could just go out and it was fantastic of just launching myself onto a train in the morning and think, where do I want to go today? I fancy Harrogate.
Let's go sell some beer.
Go to Harrogate. You'll have an absolutely great time.
Is it really? And also, you had the magic rucksack that you just sort of took around with you, filled with cans and samples.
Big old bag of cans.
Big old bag of cans, yeah.
But yeah, being able to just travel, working for a small brewery, seeing it from beginning to end, like there was some mad ideas when we were at Brew York in the mad in between days when we were doing like our box social. Was it when Lee first told me what we were doing, and it was a black imperial sour New England lactose IPA, and it was all of those things. It ticked every single one of those boxes. Yeah, it was great. But it was a bit of a hard sell there.
Yeah. Do you find so when you are selling to pubs, do you find it difficult for them to sell these crazy beers?
It varies from place to place. Like Nikki's just joined us, and her
hey Nikki, woo!
Her clientele in her pub she goes through more imperial stouts than I've ever seen anyone go through.
Crown and Kettle, just shouting out Crown and Kettle.
I can remember once going in, and Nikki was complaining that she's got the reputation of just selling imperial stouts. To which I replied, "There are 7 on your bar today."
Oh,
so
yeah.
But it does vary from place to place. And guys like John Sibley up at the Town Mouse in Newcastle, which is a fantastic little pub if you find yourself up there, he can absolutely rattle through black IPAs and dark beers, whereas other guys struggle. The guys over at the Bow-Legged Beagle over in Wirral, I could just send them any sour, and those guys, it depends on what the market is and how they put to the different customers. That sounds very pretentious, but
no, I find that really, really interesting. So I guess, obviously we've seen huge waves of pubs closing, and we, definitely a few years ago, there was a bit of a panic in the industry, worrying about, the amount of pubs that were closing. But I think what we're actually seeing is an emergence of pubs that really understand their customers and really understand their specialities. And those are the people who are surviving and thriving in this industry. So
yeah, I think it's a great way to put it. You do still have community pubs, and those pubs will always have the community around them, and they're the ones that we need to worry about. So that they're the ones that are probably a chain pub or something like that. But let's not go into this. I don't want Punch appearing at my door.
Yeah, leads us very nicely onto my next subject we were going to talk about. Obviously, we've seen a lot of pubs and the brewing industry in general hit by the pandemic. What do you think this has meant for smaller craft breweries?
It depends from case to case, like what we're saying with the pub. I know our friends out in Top Rope have sold out of beer. The guys down in Arbor, April was their best month that they've ever had. Guys who have been hitting that web shop, but some people like our friends over at Manchester Union who were 100% draft, and suddenly you've lost 100% of your market.
Yeah,
it's not a good thing. So people do ask, how do you think it's been affected? It's been decimated. That's what's happened. And I think many people will talk alongside of us and will echo what we're saying of, we kind of just need some government advice of what's going to happen.
Oh gosh, yes.
So we can plan for the future.
I mean, selfishly, from my perspective, is trying to get my tours back up and running again. I still have people buying tickets. God bless them. Buying vouchers, buying tickets for me. But I'm not going around knocking on breweries' tap rooms doors at the moment, trying to pester them, wondering, asking them when are they going to reopen, because they just don't know. We don't know. Yeah.
I saw Julie from Neptune post on her Twitter earlier saying, God bless Julie, one of the most powerful, terrifying women I've ever met.
She's fantastic.
She's amazing. She was saying how there's been an absolute uptick in people just writing and saying, can you send us some free beer and I'll review it as payment? And it's like,
no,
really not what we need right now. I have paid for pretty much all the beer that I'm drinking, and even if I get sent stuff for free, I try and pay some back. We're all struggling at this moment.
Also, swaps is a thing. Don't go around asking for freebies. Ask for trading. That works. I did that with Andy yesterday at Alphabet. I traded some of my beer for some of his, and we'll review that later. But
give him a shout out for his new beer would be awesome.
Absolutely. Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll just wrap up a little bit, and then we'll go over to Lianne. There was one more question I think I wanted to ask you. Yeah. So, interestingly, again, leads to speaking to Lianne. We are seeing a lot of takeaway services pop up, obviously, from breweries, and we went through the rundown of that last week with Lianne. Do you think this direct sale to consumer is the way forward for breweries now? Do you think they're actually going to sell more volumes that way rather than through the pubs? Or
God, how long's a piece of string? No, I don't want to ever see the death of the pub in any. I love pubs. I love beer. Pubs are the lifeblood of the British community and always have done. A direct to sales solely. I've just seen that Mills has gone direct to customer only. The only issue I can see with this, and it's an issue they're trying to fix, is the second-hand market, the price gouges, and we've seen it happen with rare trainers over the course of the past couple of years. Is that people are buying them for 120 and they're going for 500, 600. I've actually got some.
You got some there you're about to sell on eBay.
New Balance 327s.
Gorgeous.
My very own Charlotte Lee.
Fantastic.
For £120 and they're now going for about 600, and that is what beer has always been accessible. It's always been for the masses. I don't know. I really don't know about that one.
Yeah, I think I've always struggled with that with craft beer, is seeing that the sort of FOMO beers, the beers that go for extremely large amounts of money, and the beers that you have to queue around the block for to get that sort of thing. I find that difficult to settle with. I'm definitely like a beer for a masses sort of person. I prefer to see beer being accessible to people. I don't want to see it go the way of wine, France.
The other thing I prefer being seen is I prefer beer being drank. Like,
rather than sat in a can. Yeah.
And I am looking at my special reserve over there, and I've got a couple of bottles that have been there for quite a while. But it's one of those, like, do you sit on the beer for so long and it's not as good as what it's going to be just because you want to wait for the right occasion, or do you open it outside the brewery and drink it while you go home?
There's no in between for you, Tom, I see.
No,
there's no middle ground.
One or the other.
One or t'other. Rightio. Well, we will cut now to Lianne. Say hello to her. So we'll see you in a moment, Tom.
See you in a bit.
Hello, Lianne. How you doing? Hi. Waiting there patiently in the green room. Thank you for your technical support thus far. So, what beers do you have for us this week?
So, my beer of the week, which is from my lovely friends at Alphabet Brewing. So, see if I can get it right in shot. So, my beer of the week is the Ariel Getaway, which is a lemon drop pale ale. I've already poured some of that out. I've already had one can of this while you.
I don't blame you.
This is on to my second can. What's really great, which I mentioned on the on our session last week, is that Alphabet are doing a delivery service at the moment where if you order before 2 p.m. On the day, you'll get your beer the same day. But unfortunately, when I put my order in this week, and Andy's beer, the new stout that they've done, literally went on the web shop after I'd done my order for the week. And
oh, hey, it's okay because I have a can which I'm going to try and put by the camera. So I hate the way this is set up. There's Andy himself, Era Mining on there, which I absolutely love. And what are the Cornish boys to do? So this is in reference.
Alex here,
that's Alex there. Fantastic. Oh, hi guys. So those guys both look after the tap room at Alphabet too, and help us when we take our tour groups there. So it's nice to see them in can form, even if we can't see them in real life. But yeah, it is a reference to his Cornish heritage and what's happened to basically Cornwall now. Industry has gone from there. Well, I'll give you a quick pour now if you don't mind, Lianne, while we're talking about it, because I'm fresh out of beer. So
my boyfriend sent me a message just as I'd ordered, being like, "No, you ordered too early.
You ordered too early." Can you see it? Yeah. So this is a 6.2% stout. Andy did say it is based on or inspired by Menadoo Stout from St Austell Brewery, which is a legendary stout from down in Cornwall. Lovely head on that. Fantastic. Beautiful. Wow. Really, really creamy and rich. It smells incredible. Really, really chocolatey. Oh, fantastic. Really nice, rich, deep, chocolatey coffee flavors coming through, a little bit grainy, and then on the aftertaste, that really soft, milky sort of flavor coming through too. So really lovely balanced stout, that one. Absolutely gorgeous.
Have to do another Alphabet order, clearly.
You are, yeah.
I've been doing quite a lot of Alphabet orders recently because I've been really enjoying. They've been doing a single hot pale series, and Ariel Getaway is one of these. But I have this week's the first time I've had this one. So this is a lemon drop pale ale, which is made using lemon drop hops, which I must admit I'd never heard about before. But it kind of gives the aroma that you would expect. So a very lemony, citrusy aroma. Also, apparently, you can get hints of mint and green tea from this hop. I'm not particularly getting that, but
you're getting that yourself, yeah.
It's extremely citrusy, and it's very, very easy drinking at 4%. And the main reason I picked this for this week is because today was meant to be like a really, really sunny, nice day after a week of the worst weather we've had in Manchester for probably months. And this is the sort of beer that I can just imagine sitting outside in the garden on a summer's day and just drinking probably like 3 or 4 of these, just because it's super, super refreshing. It's not quite as hot today as I was expecting, but yeah. So at Alphabet, they've been doing quite a few of these different single hop beers. So I had on the session last week the Sabro Pale, which I really, really like.
Yes.
As well. And they've also done one called Interstellar Getaway, which is made with Galaxy hops. And it's just a really nice series where they really showcase different hops, some of which I'd never, ever had before. So that's my beer of the week, which I'm currently drinking. I also want to make a few other honourable mentions this week if we've got time.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Let's go for it.
So I've also recently done a order from I'm a big fan of Belgian beer.
Are we all?
I got tipped off about a online shop called the Belgian Beer Company, which I believe are based out of Stoke, where you can get Cantillion bottles for delivery. So I was like, wow, I'm going to jump on that. Why not? It's lockdown. I'm not spending my money on anything else at the moment. So me and my boyfriend shared this week this Gueze from Cantillion, which it was just nice, and it's the first time I've had a Cantillion beer since I went to the brewery a couple of years ago, and it was just, I would recommend if you like Lambic and you like Cantillion beers to have a look on the Belgian Beer Company's website, because they have quite a good selection, and the delivery was really, really quick. And you kind of worry when you're spending a bit more money on some beers and that they're going to turn up and they're not going to be packaged right. And but this was really good, so I'd highly recommend them.
Oh, fantastic! Well, we'll put them in the link as well when we're done, so people can go through to that shop.
And last but not least, we were talking a little bit about Tom was talking a little bit about pubs there, and I would echo his sentiments that I miss the pub so much.
Oh, I think we all do, yeah.
Can't wait to get back in the Crown and Kettle. But another one of my favourite pubs is in Levenshulme, where I live, Station Hop, and they have recently opened up again as a takeouts and draft beers, which I think a lot of craft beer bars are doing similar at the moment to try and keep some income coming in. And I popped down yesterday and I picked up. They've got a really interesting selection at the moment of breweries that I must admit I haven't really heard of before. So I picked up this Limoncello Lemon IPA.
That sounds good. I'm really into that sort of flavour. It was
really, really, really good. Not too dissimilar to this Alphabet beer I'm drinking now. Actually, extremely refreshing. I've never had a beer from Aura Brewing before, which is another reason why I picked this up. And this was recommended to me by Amanda at Station Hop. And if any of you are based near Levenshulme, I would definitely recommend having a look in there at the moment, because they've got lots of interesting stuff in. Also including this West Coast IPA from Full Circle Brew Co., which is another brewery that I'd not heard of, Newcastle-based brewery, and this was, I would say, an extremely good West Coast IPA. Me and my boyfriend always talk about this, because I'm not a massive fan of West Coast IPAs. I'm much more of a New England IPA in terms of the style, but this is probably one of the best West Coast IPAs I've had. Not too bitter, just perfectly balanced. So yeah,
lovely.
So that's a bit about what I've been drinking this week.
So both those beers are available from Station Hop, is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm sure if you wanted to do orders from both the breweries direct as well, that would be possible. But yeah, Station Hop have got a really good range of beer at the moment. Tom mentioned Birmingham breweries as well. They've also got loads of Dig Brew beers in at the moment.
Okay, so he can get hold of some Birmingham beers there then. Yeah, fantastic.
I think it's great, because I'm from Birmingham, and I would agree with Tom. We don't often see Birmingham beers in Manchester. Yeah. So yeah,
thirsty people. You keep your beers to yourself, huh? That'll be right. All right. Well, thank you, Lianne. We'll catch up with you next week and see what you've been drinking. Stay safe.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, Tom, you're back.
Hello. I've moved on to the Twisted Wheel Soul City, New England, the one that I bought this morning. Met the guys who own this. Let's see what it's like.
So that was down at Chorlton Market, wasn't it?
Yeah, down at Chorlton Makers Market. It was very weird being outside and interacting with other humans. It was just very surreal. I had a coffee. I bought a coffee.
Oh, I've done that for a while.
Like 5 months, like.
Yeah. So what's that beer like? Do you want to talk us through it?
Really good. Nice soft flavour, citron equinot on it.
Nice.
It says it's got IBUs of 60, but it's got 0 bitterness whatsoever. It's just big, fluffy, 6%, very little citrus flavour, just really easy drinking, 6.5%. Oh, so that's good.
Oh, right, okay, so interesting.
I had these guys over at the Architect in Chester, which is a great little pub. If really good food. If anyone finds themselves in Chester, on cask, and they've just redone their entire recipe. They launched in February, so an interesting launch just before Corona. But they did very well. So if anyone sees them, go for the Soul City. It's really nice.
Oh, I'll have to go before the next live stream and check that out. That sounds great. So you've been drinking probably quite a few beers over lockdown, I should imagine. What has been your favourites that have seen you through?
Well, I've spent. So to people watching this, Sarah asked me this last week, and it has honestly spent me all week doing this, and I had to set myself some rules of doing it, of 1 beer per brewery, because my first list was all 5 Neptune beers. Because those guys at the moment are absolutely...
Shout out to Julie. It's not because she intimidates you, obviously, that you love them so much.
Does, They're doing some absolutely belting stuff. Really recommend if there's any Neptune beers. And then the other one was you have to be able to buy it now.
Yes.
So nothing really weird, nothing really surreal, because Nikki's giving me some Jester King stuff, but if you can't go out and buy it now, it doesn't count.
Sure.
So begin with my number 1 beer that I've had over lockdown. The rest are in no particular order, but one is Galene, which is a collab between Neptune and Ansbach and Holiday, 4.3% Session New England IPA, possibly the best session IPA I've had all year, which I'm not saying lightly. Just so good.
And two incredible breweries there. I mean, Ansbach and Holiday were definitely one of my faves London breweries. Their porters were incredible.
Ansbach and Holiday was put very well from my mate Ian over at Wild Weather, who might be watching, if you got through the privacy wars.
Apparently.
He described Ansbach and Holiday as the sort of brewery that you take home to meet your parents. And it was like, that describes them so well. It's just really outstandingly good beer that has always kind of gone a little bit beneath the radar. Their porter is one of the finest examples, I think, of a London porter.
Absolutely.
Right now, probably in the past 20 years produced, which brings me nicely on to my second beer, which is the IPA by Ansbach and Holiday, which I thought was going to be a beautiful West Coast. It was really clear, just really nice looking beer. And when I had it, and it was stone fruit, it was papaya, it was mango, and I'm looking at this like, I see those comments on Untapped all the time of, it doesn't taste hazy, and that makes me want to jump out of a small window.
What does that even mean? It doesn't taste hazy, I don't get that.
My favourite one is still, I can't taste the yeast in these hops. Okay, one more. My favourite ever Untapped thing was someone put on Maiden by Siren, which if you guys haven't tried.
No, I have tried Maiden, yes.
Nikki up the Crown and Kettle's got the 2019 edition in bottle.
Fantastic.
11% barley wine, one of the finest barley wines ever made. I tried to mix it with lemonade to make a shandy, and I made it worse.
Why would you do that?
Ansbach and Holiday, the IPA, just took my breath away. Was not expecting it to be a big, juicy New England, and it was absolutely fantastic. Just go buy a mixed crate for an Anspach and Hob Day. You're not going to be disappointed. Number 3, chapter That Old Rope, which is actually what I've had. I am such a big fan of this beer. Noah, who owns Chapter, has put me as his unofficial salesman of this beer. Drank this in the Grapes over in Liverpool, which is a great little pub. Yeah. And I walked in, and Wilson, the manager, just put a pint of it in front of me and gave me no choice. And it still remains one of my favourite beers to this day. It's just 5.4%, old school West Coast, a little bit more floral than what I'd say most West Coast are, but it's good. And when Noah put this in cans, he messaged me and went, "How many do you want?" And it's like, just send me the invoice. Just send me the lot. Going into number 4, a brewery that I mentioned earlier that I was actually drinking. So Elusive Shadow of the Beast, which is a black IPA. If anyone follows Andy Parker, the owner and brewer of Elusive on Twitter, you know that man's love of black IPAs.
Almost as much as your love of black IPAs, I think. Black IPAs are just an absolutely fantastic thing. They came kind of a little bit faddy 5-6 years ago. Was it black IPAs, Brute IPA?
Yeah,
Neepers, I think. Yeah.
A bit of a flash in the pan, but Andy is one of the finest black IPA brewers. The Shadow of the Beast, as put by John Sibley, who owns the Town Mouse in Newcastle, as it's replaced tea and coffee, is his go-to drink after water. And I agree with him after that.
I like that.
Final beer that I'm going to give a shout out to is Anarchy's The Great Elmira. I don't actually know how to pronounce it, which is their barley wine, which is one of the first beers that Dawn, who's one of the co-owners of Anarchy, brewed. It is the finest barley wine I've had. Probably the finest accessible barley wine I've ever had.
Okay. Because you did say that about Siren earlier, so.
Yeah, but this one is just it's just great. It's a perfect session barley wine. It's 11%.
11%. I was going to say.
It's down an absolute treat, and it's got really. I've actually just dug a can out from.
Oh my god, that's gorgeous!
Really, really cool artwork. Really cool guys. Go out and support your local Anarchy dealer.
They're really pretty.
Wow. Really pretty. Anarchy are doing some great things at the moment, and I think we should watch the space on those guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're my of lockdown. I do still have the old cheese sat here, which I might drink, which is a 14.5% Mad Sting. So let's see how this goes.
Let's see how it goes. Cheers. So also yesterday, I don't know if you have it in front of you. Yesterday we picked up my beer from.
Yes, it's over there. I can see it.
Street. Do you want to grab it? Should we try it? Go on. I've got it in a growler. Oh, there we go. So yeah, it's meant to be a West Coast style pale ale. As I said to Tom, I think it's more of a sort of an ESB meets a West Coast IPA. I'm going to go with that as a description. I haven't done one up in a while, so you got a stein.
Well, I've got my Sheffield Indie Beer Feast glass.
Yeah. It's a 330ml bottle, Tom. It's just going to be rattling around in there. You need to swap. Should we swap? If you give me the old glass. Yeah. That'd be great. Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, this has come off the keg into the growler. Pour vigorously. As I say on Basic Brewing Radio. There we go. Yeah, not too bad. I really like the colour of it. I think it's it's pretty. It's got a good head on it.
Oh, it's got that piney twang at the back of your tongue. That I really
piney twang. That's what we shall call it.
The thing that makes you go, oh, like good cheese. Like lactose crystals and a good cheese, that slight astringency that you get from like Sierra Nevada Torpedo or Sierra Nevada Ale. You get a little bit of a malty sweetness as well. But the overwhelming flavour is that. Talking about this beer last week and where you're brewing up the moment and where people can get hold of your.
Yeah, absolutely. So we sort of went through it. So it's Temperance Street Brewery. So they are this week doing a tap takeover of Beer Nouveau. A takeaway tap takeover at Beer Nouveau, which is a bit of a mouthful. So it's all the homebrew kits, basically. So we were meant to be opening a facility where people could come down, brew 25 litres of beer of their choosing in the facility there, and then obviously take the beer home if they want to, or sell it over the brewery tap at Steve's. Obviously, the pandemic happened, so that meant that all those plans had to be shelved. But we have been going there and brewing beer anyway. So I've brewed this beer. Is the first beer I've brewed on there. It's a tasty little West Coast style beer. Although, yeah, I think it definitely needed some more dry hopping, and I think it would have brought a bit more brightness to it. But I think it's a tasty beer anyway. It's a nice, easy drinker.
How strong?
You can drink it. 5.3. So
not too.
Yeah, easy.
It's roundabout. They're the beers that always get you in trouble. The 5.5.
Yeah, you think, it's only 5.
It's like, not too strong. I'll have bloody Jaipur.
Yes.
I love Jaipur. I think it's an absolutely belting pint on cast. 5.9%, and then you have 6 pints of it and you wake up the next morning in a book. Like, what the hell's happening or how you get places.
Yeah, that's it. And then, so the next beer I've brewed, which will be hopefully on the taps next week, all going well, is a Jester Smash beer. So it's just Jester hops and pale ale malt. So we haven't tried Jester yet at the brewery. It's a UK hop, but it's got a lot of the citrusy notes coming through. So it should be quite interesting. I bunged a whole load of dry hops in on that yesterday. So hopefully those lovely flavours are going to come through. And then I did a Kravik pale ale yesterday. Saw you briefly yesterday and was brewing at the same time, so I had malt all over me, which is quite good.
And the beers that I tried yesterday, you did an American porter, which was
that was good, real good,
really good. The sour that you're drinking, which was like a rattler, it was great. And the session pale, which was also really pleasant.
So Alex brewed the porter and the session pale. Hopefully we'll get him on at some point. He's kind of the person mainly in charge of the Temperance Street project.
Yeah, I'll talk briefly about what I'm going to be getting next week. I'm going to be ordering some beer from Abbeydale, which is my what I could only describe as my home city brewery, Sheffield. Shout out to any Sheffield contingent. They've finally put moonshine into cans, which started off as an April Fool's Day joke, that they were going to put their classic traditional blonde into 440ml cans. It got such a great reception. They put it into 440 cans.
But they did it. That's a great way to test the market, do an April Fool's and then actually do it.
If you guys, because you don't see it really outside of Sheffield, I think it's just such a thirsty market. It's just a great traditional blonde. It's not going to blow your socks off, but it's certainly one of those beers that you sit in the sun and you can have 5 or 6 cans of. I'm going to be placing an order at Two Tribes, which is a brewery that I don't think really has got much traction in the north, but in London has been doing very well. They do their lager, their heavily hopped lager, I think it's called Powerhouse, is really, really good. Another sit in the sun and drink. They do a fruited sour range as well, which is great. And then final brewery to give a shout out is the guys over at Top Rope, Neil and Ben, who are producing some absolutely fantastic beers. And all their beers are named after wrestling references, which apparently is a big niche. And lovely guys as well, and they've been doing very well through this this lockdown. So actually trying to get hold of their beers quite hard. I've kind of had to go, next time you're canning, can I get some this time? So who would be your brewery that most people may not have heard of? I mean, I mentioned really all the ones. Chapter just are absolutely smashing it at the moment. Same with Neptune. If we're looking at a brew, the next big thing, which I think is the beautiful boys over at Turning Point Brew Co. up in Harrogate, who are doing some amazing stuff. They've just taken over Rooster's old kit.
Oh, wow, okay.
So they've just done collab with Thornbridge, Siren, 5 Points, and Roosters as well, called the New Frontiers Project.
Some heavy hitters there.
Oh, they're absolutely fantastic, and Cam, who owns it, is just a really lovely gent, and they've got a nice solid fan base, and they haven't put a foot wrong. If Cam is watching, bring back Disco Flux, you bastard. I've been asking you, but yeah, I think in Manchester, where do I go to drink? The only thing that I would say is there's so many different places. Just drink your local beer. Just go and support your local guys. You're not spoiled for choice either. I didn't realise there was a brewery half a mile away from where I'm sat down. Is it Bootleg? Brewery down in Chorltonville.
Yes, well they're now owned by JW Lees, of course. So.
Are they? Oh, right. Well, we're still brewing down there. So.
They are still brewing there, yes, and doing some nice stuff over there as well. So, yeah. There's always someone. You'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Just have a route around. You'll find someone local.
Have a route around the bottom of the bin and see what you got.
See what you find. And then also I think it's nice because you get chatting to the people who do brew beer, and if there's something that you really fancy trying or you fancy them brewing, generally you can ask them if something they'll be willing to consider as well, which is great.
I think most brewers don't hate it when you offer to come and wipe everything down and sweep up after them. I think most brewers tend to encourage that. In fact,
absolutely,
it's just a great community, and I think to have been blessed to work in this industry is just amazing.
Yeah, very lucky.
You can walk into any city and find yourself a floor to sleep on, at least.
That's very true. Very true. All right, well, I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Tom. This has been really cool.
Yeah, it's been a nice way to spend my afternoon. I now have a lot of beer.
Have a lot there. I wish I could come and help you with that, but sadly not at the moment.
No, we'll get through this and we'll all be fine on the other side. Maybe
soon. Alrighty, well, wish you best of luck with everything, and I'm sure I'll see you soon, and thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye. Cheers.